The work rate, the smarts, the attitude, and I think she would be a great replacement for Krieger.
A lot of teams would sit back defensively and make the U.S. try and figure out how they're going to get past them. And Alex Morgan, Sophia Smith, Megan Rapinoe, their job was to figure it out, and they could never figure it out. And we saw this U.S. side with all these young players figure it out. The MLS Final is set for 4 p.m. Eastern time between Columbus Crew and LAFC, who are the defending champions of the league.
I think LAFC plays the best brand of soccer, so I'm glad they're there.
Welcome back into Straight from the Pitch, joined as always by Scotty Schweitzer. I'm Anna Witte. Before we get into the professional soccer news here in the States, wanted to congratulate Florida State women's soccer on winning a national championship. It was a landslide win over Stanford, 5-1. FSU fans might be upset about not making the college football playoffs, and in my opinion, that's completely fair. They should be in there over Michigan. However, their women's team, a fall sports program, wins a national title. So congrats to those ladies. I would like to say it was a fun game to watch, but it wasn't. They absolutely annihilated that Stanford team. Before we dive into the NWSL Free Agency, the U.S. Women's National Team, and MLS Final happening this weekend, just want to hear your opinion, because before we started recording, we were talking about, Florida State not making the Final Four for the college football. For me, I think Michigan should be out because what Jim Harbaugh did, I think, is not okay, and they shouldn't be rewarded for that. And Florida State going undefeated, what else are you looking for in a Power 5 program to do? Nothing. So, but you had a different opinion, Scotty, and I think the fans should hear both sides.
My opinion kind of comes across as just a fan that's going to want to watch two semifinal games in a final. And I would think that, me personally, I thought Georgia should have got it. And I understand the losses and this, but I think right now the 4 best teams in football, Florida State's not one of them. I think Georgia's one of them. I think Alabama's one of them. I think Washington's one of them. And then the third one, I guess Texas, but they haven't been playing real good at the end of the year, as good as they were playing middle of the year. So
yeah,
Florida State, to me, I understand you did in a sense what you were asked to do, and you won every game. But man, we're gonna find out, Florida State, how good you are. You got Georgia. Welcome to the Orange Bowl.
It might be one of the best bowl games out of the 3, honestly.
For me, I'm excited to watch that game just because, like I said, I think I would have. For me, if the final came down, the national championship came down to Georgia, Alabama again, I would have been so psyched to see that game. I would have been completely psyched to see that game. I think Michigan's good. I understand with the cheating, and you can't say that you didn't know about it and stuff like that, Harbaugh, because it's your team. You're the head guy. But the Big Ten's a different type of football. Like when I watched that SEC final, man, there's some big boys and they fly. They are flying. Georgia, man, Alabama. I don't think Michigan's that fast. They're big. They're strong. Yeah, they're good. I don't think Ohio State's good enough coached. So you beat Ohio State. You beat them 3 times in a row. Yeah, you have the better coach. You have a better coach. The players, I think it's real close, Michigan, Ohio State, as far as caliber. But then you have a way better coach coaching against you, and that's going to change the dynamic of the game. So I didn't think Florida State deserved to get in personally, based on me, the viewer. I don't think they can win. I don't think they can beat any of those 4 teams that get in, and I didn't think they could beat Georgia. And I don't think they would have beat them with the quarterback not being hurt. I truly don't believe
that's fair.
that.
The quarterback thing is fair, but that doesn't, I don't know, if you're the committee, to me, I wouldn't have put too much stake in that. Let's be honest though, anything that happens this year is going to be much better than last year, because TCU took a massive beating against Georgia. That was just not probably good for ESPN ratings, not good for viewers.
I think that's what the committee tries to do, because I think I heard today the average, there's a semifinal game, and the average is a 41-20 game, and they're trying to get those games out of the semifinals. That's the last few years, they average a semifinal game has been a complete blowout, and they're trying to get rid of that. And I think but at the end of the day, that's why we play sports, because we just can't predict if someone's going to win or lose. I don't think anybody really thought, although I kind of thought Florida State was going to whoop up on Stanford in the women's finals yesterday. but they got there and they play it and like, oh man, 5-1. We didn't see that coming in a sense, but that's what you get. You get a chance for the underdog to win. So I understand that from Florida State side, but personally, I don't think they can. I don't think they have the players that can. And they're showing stuff and like, who'd you beat? Clemson's not the same. NC
No.
State's not really that good, and I'm an NC State fan. Carolina, we saw what they were this year. They just got worse and worse and worse. So like you're beating teams in the ACC. I mean, who's good in the ACC? I don't think. And I think college rankings are a complete farce. They're a farce. Like conferences play different ways. Conferences play different styles. So like when we rank these teams, Stanford was undefeated this year. Undefeated this year. And they lost 5-1 in a soccer game against an ACC school. Like, we're like, I don't know. Is NC State as bad as we really think they are in women's soccer? I don't know. Maybe if they were in the Pac-12, we would be undefeated. I just think like if we're not playing everybody and we're not, and I understand you can't do it logistically and financially, especially the non-revenue sports. I think with the rankings are a complete joke.
Yeah. I think one day we might see things looking completely different. But for now, I agree. I think, FSU with the competition I think that they see on the East Coast week in and week out during their fall season set them up for that championship. But that's enough on the college game. That's enough on American football. Let's dive into some football. NWSL. We are still in the off season. And I think right now we've seen a few free agents figure out what club they want to go to next. But for the majority, I've read a lot of people giving advice that, hey, just take this December, this off season to just relax a little bit, enjoy the fact that the NWSL has this where you can be a free agent and you can kind of decide your fate. But let's do it for them, Scotty, while we're just waiting to see where teams go, rather players go. So who is a free agent on the list right now? Where should they go and why?
All right. There's a lot of players that are free agents, which I think is good for the sport. I think that's really good. And there's some pretty big names out there. And then there's some names where like there'll be some good role players that move around and that. For me, though, the biggest name for me, and listen, there's Kruger's on that list, McCaskill's on it, Sonnet. I think Weatherholt will be Davidson, Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox. Swanson is a free agent, but for me, Sarah Gordon. Sarah Gordon is the player that if I'm a team, and the team that there's two teams that I would be looking for Sarah Gordon to go to, or if I'm Sarah Gordon. Now, again, you got to take into account, it's a little bit different, I think, on the women's side because they have kids, they have families, it's hard to move. Listen, for me, when I was playing, and I didn't have to do it because I didn't have a child yet, but it would have been a lot easier for me to go and play somewhere and my wife and daughter stay somewhere and then me come back to them. I think it's real hard when the mom leaves. The child has to kind of follow mom. I just think that's the way it should be. I think that especially at young, there's that connection is a little stronger than with dad. It took me and my daughter as time went. Of course, we had a connection, but like she wanted mom more than she wanted dad when she was younger. Mm-hmm. So Sarah Gordon, and there's two teams that I think she should be looking at. One is Kansas City, because I think what they're doing, they need someone like her to stabilize the franchise. But more than that, if I am Gotham, we have to replace Krieger with leadership, with the way, the work rate, the smarts, the attitude, and I think she would be a great replacement for Krieger, because when you become a champion, it's not easy to become a champion, but it's a lot easier to become a champion than to stay a champion. That's when it gets hard. You're getting everybody's best game. You're getting your everybody's championship. And I think Sarah Gordon going there would be a huge lift and showing that fan base, those players, this is not a one and done for us. We are going to take this league over. And it would be great for the league. MLS, NWSL, they need their big franchises to be good. They need them to. They're big markets. They need them to be good. Like, I'm telling you, MLS has got to be psyched that LA's back in the championship because it's a big market. They make sacrifices for their big markets. And so that would be, for me, Sarah Gordon. And I understand she's 31. But what she looked like last year, she didn't look like a 31-year-old. She looked like a 28-year-old, 27-year-old. She got better and better as the year went. She's a vocal leader. She's outspoken. She reminds me of Krieger a bit, just not as popular social media, I guess, in a sense. But that's the name on the list. That man, when I saw her name on the list and that she's not signed yet, Angel City, you better get going because she's a key component to your team.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one. And the only caveat I have for this, because I completely agree, she can really, Kansas City's a good spot, but I see where you're going with the Krieger thing. And that's something I wasn't thinking about. But she's a fashion person, right? Like she loves the off the field stuff. And that was the only thing to me that you push the whole soccer thing aside and having a kid aside, she seems to love LA, and LA seems to be a good place for her career off the field as a 31-year-old. But that's also a good move for her to New York because it's also another great fashion capital that can provide much. It's a little bit closer to her home in Chicago, but LA, she's been there 2 years now,
Yeah,
1 year as an injured player, 1 year as a playing
and we
player.
were
So,
talking like it's fun to be a free agent. When I was a player, it was fun to be a free agent when I was young.
yeah.
When you get older, man, the club has a little bit more, they got a little bit more power because you're done moving around. You don't want to keep doing all like, you're usually looking like staying because I'm established or going close to home because I'm almost done. Or where do I want to go because I have this after I'm done playing? Like, so free agency seems really good. But it gets a little bit trickier when you get older. So, like when I went through the list, like I was looking at ages and how old guy people were, and are they close to retiring? And like we already saw with the Crystal Dunn, a little bit has come out that Orlando. She's already been talking to Orlando, and like we all knew what she was doing. She's trying
Right.
to be with her husband. We're like, and they've already cut off talks with her because they have the upper hand. Like that's the thing for Crystal Dunn. She doesn't realize is Orlando has the upper hand that we know you want to be there. So we
Right.
don't have to give you everything you want because you actually, this is the place you want to be. And it has nothing to do with our weather. It has to do with you want to be with your husband. And that's understandable. But like that's when I was looking at this list is, man, do you want to be moving? Do you, Emily Fox, do you want to move again? Do you want to go like some of these players, I think, and then again, like who's restricted and who's unrestricted, like that, those are big things too. Like that's when these players are restricted free agents, you're kind of like, as a team, you don't have to do anything. Make an offer. What can you get out there? And then I'll match it. I don't have to do better. I just have to match it. And then you can't go anywhere anyway. So, but Sarah Gordon to me is what I saw last year, man. And as players, I would be like, hey, we need this girl back because I think Sarah Gordon was a big reason why some of their other players did really good. And the
Yeah.
other thing with free agency is you better be careful if you leave. Just because you had a great McCaskill, just because you killed it last year, be careful if you go somewhere else and they don't play the same style that fits your brand of soccer.
N-
Because
That's
she
the
was
biggest
good
thing.
in Chicago, but she wasn't like she is in Angel City. Like that they play her brand of soccer in LA, so it really fits her game. You go somewhere else and you go to Carolina, they don't want you dribbling the ball and doing all your things. Like it's not going to fit. Now you're sitting the bench. Now, yeah, you got a good contract, but for what? You're not playing.
Right. And that was the biggest thing for me when I was looking at this list was there was a lot of players who I actually think they're in good spots, like McCaskill with Coach Tweed now, who's taken over this LA team. I think that fits her really well. With Rose Lavelle, that was a hard one for me to predict. I could see her leaving OL Reign, but she seems really comfortable and happy in that environment. And obviously she has so much freedom within that system that I could see her staying there. But for me, I could see her leaving as well. But the player that I chose was one of our big up and coming U.S. Women's National Team players is Casey Kruger. She's 33 years old. She's been in Chicago for a while now. She's originally from the Chicago area. She's married. She has a young son. It'd be hard for me to see her leave Chicago for those reasons because she is a little bit quieter. She seems to be really happy with like her personal life and being close to home. But she is an up and coming outside back and can be used as a center back when need be. She can get forward. We've seen what she can do. And I think we'll dive into the U.S. national team stuff next. But what we saw her do this past weekend shows her athleticism and everything. So I thought about Kansas City because it's a big up and coming, obviously, soccer town. They've got this new stadium coming. It would be a good opportunity for her to come in and be a part of this back line that struggled, to be honest, with injury, but they also struggled with young personnel. So she'd have that leadership on the back line. However, Angel City would be a good fit for me for Casey Kruger because they did struggle in the outside back area. Eme Vignola is another solid outside back, and she can get forward, but she has shown that she struggles with consistency when it comes to injury, and Kruger wouldn't do that. I think Allie Riley is a phenomenal player, but she doesn't allow Angel City to get forward on her side of the field. And for Kruger, it's a position where if Sarah Gordon decides to stay, that would be an electric defensive line. It's a new coach, a club that's growing, a club that's investing in themselves, and a place for her where she can continue to grow her name, her brand at 33 years old. Yeah, I see Kruger potentially really going to Angel City, but Kansas City would probably be my second.
I like her better in Angel City than Kansas City, but I
Yeah.
understand the Kansas City. It would be a good place to raise a kid. It's you're gonna get what you want. I think media wise, I
Right.
think they're going to pump their team. They're gonna put it out there. It's gonna be in the media. I think they're doing a really good job in Kansas City. And for me, I would love to be a part of something where yes, they've been in the league, but this is brand new. Basically, I can build something. We can leave a legacy, kind of a thing. But I agree, Angel City. I think that team they re-signed Endo last week.
Yep.
Both picked up each other's options. They had a team and player option, which I thought was pretty cool that they both had a say in it. But they're an attacking team and they like to get forward. They like to be the one that dictates the tempo. So I like that. I like that, and I think they need to attack on the outside. And I agree. Riley is she's an old school kind of defender. She's they're at their Klingenberg. They're starting to everything is starting to fade out and that's not the style of soccer that we see anymore. So I think Angel City, when you can attack out of the back as a team on both sides, not only do you get the ability to attack, but your offense plays a great role in your defense because it takes their attacking players and pushes them deeper back into their own half and doesn't allow them to attack you as much. So I could see that fitting really good there. And then with her experience is exactly what Viola would need, learning the game and taking care of herself and becoming this new, because I really do think that she's going to be the new superstar outside back in the United
Vignola.
States.
Vignola.
Vignola, yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
I was a little upset that we didn't get to see her play the other day, but I'm
I
sure we're
think
going
we'll
to
see
see
her
her
this
next.
week.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we'll see her well, I guess when this show airs, the game will have already played. It's a 7 p.m. game Eastern time Tuesday night against China. But yeah, I
Five
mean,
nothing.
what? 9-0. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, five.
let's
I
dive
think five
into it.
nothing.
Let's dive
Yeah,
into the US against China game because this is exactly what we've been calling for is a new coach to come in and shake things up. I heard on the broadcast that Crocker said he wanted a coach that had tactical flexibility. And that's what we saw out of this game. It was a 3-4-3. They went with a three back, having Dahlkemper, Germa, and Fox, which I thought was a really good combination of three different styles, but two really athletic and one really smart player on the back line. Casey Murphy started in goal, played all 90 minutes. We saw Kruger and Rodman as somewhat of a wing back, but it was really Kruger who helped out defensively, obviously, because that's her typical position. Sonnet and Haran held down the fort in the middle of the field. Then Lavelle, Smith, and DeMello started up top. Smith had the first half goal and had a lot of opportunities, really. I mean,
I think that's how they wrote it up. But
what?
I think DeMello was in the midfield and Lavelle was out wide.
I think it might have been DeMello back and Rodman forward. Like
It,
Lavelle was out
that was
wide.
the beauty of Emma Hayes is like when I
Right.
first saw it all come up, I was like, 4-3-3. This doesn't look like a 4-3-3 personnel wise. But it gave Lavelle and DeMello and Rodman this freedom to kind of go where you want.
Right.
Rodman likes to stay wide so she could drop. then DeMello would fly, kind of go out diagonal, out wide. And then Lavelle could do whatever she wanted. And because Fox was on the right side, she can basically cover that whole side by herself athletically.
Yes.
And Lavelle could do. So it was like, to me, it was like this 4-3-3-4-4-2 kind of flowing.
Well, flexibility. Like it just was what it was. And the question really is for this segment, Scotty, is did you see what you wanted to see out of these new players and out of this quote unquote new coach? I know she wasn't there physically, but did you see what you wanted?
I only make the face because you said new players. I turned it off before halftime because it was the same crap that I've always been watching. That's the truth. The first half was like a little bit better, but let's not pull any punches. Good God, China's terrible. Right. Terrible. What happened? China used to be, I understand
what happened.
They almost look like they kept their old players way too long. Now they have younger players. Okay, so you're younger, but like they had never really played together or was on that stage. Like they haven't made I'm thinking, okay, you didn't make the Olympics, you didn't do this, you had a terrible World Cup. They're going to come in hungry. These friendlies for teams like that this is your World Cup. This is your Olympics. So give us something. They were horrible. So on that terms, it was like it's a kind of a hard game to dissect. But then I turned it back on because I was like, well, come on, second half, make some changes. I want to see this Fischl girl. I want to see the younger players. And listen, I think Emma Hayes is going to be I think Emma Hayes is a super, super signing for the United States soccer, not just women. I think Berhalter does what he's told. He doesn't cause any problems in a sense of he doesn't hurt the media. He doesn't hurt the marketing. Emma Hayes, I am hoping they brought somebody in to shake it up. Listen, there's a lot of rumors out there and conspiracy theories, and people can think what they want, that Alex Morgan gets all this playing time because she's the most marketable, blah, 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 blah. If what is true about Emma Hayes is she don't care. Her job is to win games and to produce good soccer. So you want someone to play? She don't care. She don't care who you are. She doesn't care what you've done. It's what do you do today? What do you do now? And I think what she needs to see is our younger players play a different brand of soccer. I was talking to somebody the other day. It looked like our old team, and I understand we were good and we won a lot of games, but the game has changed. Their idols and their heroes and the games they watched were all the old women's that we used to have. They used to just watch basically the national team. These younger players are like, they've watched Barcelona, they've watched Man City, they've watched the men, they've watched the women, they've watched Mexico, they've watched Italian, they watched all these different brands of soccer, and they have integrated that into their style of play. Jaden Shaw is a baller, baller. Listen, I feel bad for Sonnet a little because this is the best Sonnet's played since I've been watching Sonnet. She's good as a holding midfielder. Coffee is way better than her.
Totally.
And for players that just watch the game and are like, oh, I'm a fan of soccer and have really never played it, when you have a holding midfielder that makes you feel at total ease and have freedom to try and to fail because you know this player is in the right spot, doing the right things, so you now have, and I think Dahlkemper, for her first game back in whatever it was, 551 days or something, that girl's intelligence is remarkable. Yeah, she plays a couple long balls, but she does it, goes out of bounds. It's okay. She changes field positioning. She changes things. She says, hey, we have this look. Don't creep up too high because I'll play this ball over the top. So you got Dahlkemper back there. You have Germa, who's just a stud. And then you have Coffee. It changes the way they can play. Moultrie comes in. Come on. Moultrie, Shaw, those girls are players. Fischl's a different type of 9 that we have. You have flexibility now because if it was me, I would take Haran and put her at a 9 and say, you want this spot? Man, you better earn it because Fischl can play. She can play just like you, and she's younger. So, for me, then I think Vinola out wide. I think Fox's job is in trouble. If that girl, that little rookie from New York, New Jersey, from Gotham, can play on the right side.
Jen and Eiswanger, yeah.
On the right side, man, I would play her. That girl is intelligent. She is super smart. And she doesn't just get forward based on speed. She gets forward based on little tiny passes and breaking defenses and breaking lines. That's what I saw in the second half. And that's what I'm hoping. Hey, listen, we saw in the first game, China's terrible. Everybody take a deep breath. Let's put our young girls out there and show them the new brand of soccer. The new brand of soccer that we can play. I think Rodman's work rate and attitude is fantastic. I think Sophia Smith is like, do I play her on the outside or do I say, hey, you fight for one of those nines? And I think that's what it, before it was like, everybody kind of knew, oh, I'm going to be here. This is where I play. I'm a starter. I'm this. Now it's like every position has a fight, and that's why Man City is Man City. That's why Real Madrid is Real Madrid, is because their backups or they're guys that aren't playing are just as good as the guys that are playing. And I think that the first half was more of the same. Yes, we got a goal and China's terrible. The second half is we were doing what we wanted to with the ball because we had a different type of player in there, a different style of play. And I think go ahead.
I was going to say the biggest thing that I saw, because you're talking about the ball movement and the different style of play, was before this new cycle, so to speak, of players came in, a lot of teams would sit back defensively and make the U.S. try and figure out how they're going to get past them, right? Like it was this bus that was parked, and Alex Morgan, Sophia Smith, Megan Rapinoe, their job was to figure it out, and they could never figure it out. And we saw this U.S. side with all these young players, with the Sam Coffey, with the Fischel, with the Shaw, figure it out. They really, it took a little bit of time, and that's okay. That's part of the game. But they were smart enough to tactically break down China's bust that they eventually just sat back and played with. So I agree with that. Niswanger to me is an amazing player, like Rookie of the Year in the NWSL, a big piece of why they won that championship game. She looked a little bit uncomfortable. Like I want her to play again against China before the end of the year, to see her kind of feel comfortable playing next to players at the professional level that she's never played with. And Dahlkemper's given Cook a run for her money. Like if I were Cook, I'd be nervous. We didn't see her play yet, but Dahlkemper, she's smart. She's athletically back in shape the way that she needs to be. She doesn't make some of those simple errors that we'll sometimes see from Cook. And to your point, they need that. They need that competition in every single position if the U.S. wants to get back to who they were.
Yeah, in the past, like you were saying, like our old players like play it over the top, play it fast, run straight lines. This new crop, they fill pockets. They fill in space. They make 4-yard runs. They make 5-yard runs. They make 10-yard runs. They make diagonal runs. They come back to the ball. It's not everything straightforward. And that's why, go ahead, China, sit on us. We will knock this ball around so fast. We can play it in the official. She can play it back. Because when you first, we all like to say, oh, the eye test. Well, you can't always, because in the beginning I was watching Fisher and I was like, she's sluggish. She's smart. She's an old school 9. She finds little gaps. She knows she's strong. She's got a good wide base, played into her feet, little touch offs, little tap offs. She doesn't care if she scores. Of course, she wants to. She cares that we score, that we win. And I think that's the thing. And again, the Emma Hayes thing, she's going to do what she knows is best. You don't like it? She don't care. Find me. Fire me. I don't really care. And I think that's what's going to be good for U.S. soccer, because it's going to force us to say, wait a minute, we got the wrong guy for the job with the men. Because come on, Berhalter has not won a road CONCACAF game. Come on, man.
I know.
That's just not good enough.
No.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough. The girls weren't good enough, and we made a huge move. So why can't we do it on the men's side? Listen, I just saw Pulisic take down a punt in Italy, take it down and score an unbelievable goal, and we can't beat Trinidad and Tobago. And I understand he wasn't there and he was hurt, but come on, Trinidad and Tobago. And don't give me, the field was bad, the weather's bad, blah, blah, blah. Other teams are going in there and winning. Why can't we do it? But that's what I saw. And to say, did I see enough? Only if it stays like this. I don't need to see, I'm sorry, I don't need to see Crystal Dunn anymore. I don't need to see Sarah Brahm anymore. I don't need to see Alex Morgan. They had their last run. Thank you for everything. These young players need their opportunity. They need to take it, and then they need to run with it. Those girls, Sarah Brahm, Dunn, Morgan, they got their opportunity, and they made the most of it. Now let's see if we can take it forward again. Let's see if we can keep moving this thing forward, because you keep looking around and Italy beats Spain. Sweden's not making the Olympics. Like, there's good teams floating around, man. They're good. I watched that England-Denmark game, and I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah.
Like, 2 up. Then Holland was up 2-0, and England comes back and wins, and like they still need more goals, and like their anguish on their face, like they got to win, and they're still alive, but they were mad at themselves. The Earps was disgusted with herself for giving up a goal. Like that's what I think our young crop has, that they have that desire, that want, and they're not just wanting to be on the team. They want to push this thing forward, and I think they have the right coach for it. And I would think that she's got to be excited. She's got to be
Yeah.
excited with what she has, and the attitudes that she has there. And then just how happy some of those players were for players getting their first start. I thought that was really cool too, how excited they were. And I don't think we saw the best lineup out there. And I think it's going to make Rose Lavelle be a lot better. I think it's going to make Haran, like, step your game up. Like, you ain't a shoe-in anymore. We got players. We got good players, and like we can break teams down any way we want.
Right.
And then
And
the bench is better.
the bench is a
Because
lot better. Like they used they used 6 subs that came on and completely changed the second half. And to your point, I get what you're saying with like, yeah, we didn't see too much change in the starting 11, but I do think the creativity was there. Like that was a big change. And, by the time this podcast airs, I hope we see a different goalkeeper in net. Like I hope Murphy isn't the only one who gets to play 90 minutes of soccer. But there's so much new talent. And like you said, there's so much excitement for this US team. I think 2024 is going to be very indicative of where the US is going with these young players and how it could potentially look going into the next World Cup, but especially this Olympics. So, one more game. I know you guys will have watched and listened to it, but we haven't yet. We're still sitting on Tuesday
5-0.
morning. What'd you say?
5-0. I'm telling you, we're gonna
5-0.
kill them.
It has to be. It has to be, honestly. I mean, nothing less than that. I think that should be the expectation with this crop of players. However, this Saturday, we got the MLS Final. It's set for 4 p.m. Eastern time between Columbus Crew and LAFC, who are the defending champions of the league. Columbus Crew beat FC Cincinnati in that hell is real battle. It was an overtime win to clinch the Eastern Conference and clinch home field on Saturday. And then LAFC beat Houston 2-0 to win the Western Conference. Both teams came in third place in both their respective standings before we headed into playoffs. So this should be a really exciting match. 2 teams who've been in this position before. Obviously, LAFC were Shield winners and winners of it all last year. Columbus Crew has been there before. What do you think about this matchup overall and what this really does for the league, and how can the league grow from this championship headed into 24?
Well, I was cheering for Cincinnati because I've had more fun in Cincinnati than Columbus.
Yeah.
And I just was, I picked Cincinnati as a team to watch, and I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I picked LAFC to win the whole thing. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think LAFC plays the best brand of soccer, so I'm glad they're there. I think they do. Hopefully next year they'll play the second best brand, and Miami will be the best brand of soccer. That's really the thing I'm most excited for, is that the season will be over and we can start gearing up for Messi's full season.
Can we make a prediction right now of next year's championship game? Why not LAFC Miami? Do you think that could be a fair battle?
That would be amazing. And that would be amazing on all fronts, like
marketing
wise, East Coast, West Coast. I mean, we can have all the East Coast, West Coast rap songs before the game and everything. That'd be awesome. I think this game, I really think that LAFC is going to just they've been there. They are champions. I understand that Columbus has won it. I did see a funny stat the other day, and I don't know the exact stat terms of it, but since I was bashing on Berhalter earlier, I'm going to bash on him again. Like, Berhalter was in Columbus, did nothing, and he's been gone for whatever. They got a championship and been to like the finals like 3 times out of 4 seasons or something. Like, well, how is this guy our national team coach? I just don't understand it. Like, what has he done to deserve this role? But Columbus, I think this is good for them to be able to make a comeback down 2-0 in Cincinnati and come back and get to where they are. I'm a huge and always have been a big Darlington Nagbe fan. So if Columbus can squeak this out and find a win, the guy's a great guy. If you don't know his story, look up his story. It's pretty cool. He He moved to Cleveland when he was like 11. I think it was 2001 or something, when he was 11 years old, something like that. He played for the Internationals, the local club there. He goes to Akron. Akron's like, he goes with Caleb Porter, who I'm not a huge fan of his style of play. Uh, at Akron, like they change Akron. They make Akron like a huge team in NCAA, and he's a huge part of the buildup of it. And then the comeback and like how emotional he was, but he wasn't emotional for himself being a 33-year-old. He was emotional for what he was being able to give back to Ohio, where he feels like that Ohio gave him so much in his lifetime. So that was cool. But I just think Angel City, I'm not Angel City. I think LAFC is just, they play just too good of a brand of soccer. They have too many talented players. They'll be on the attack. I think Cherundolo, if he's not the best, he's top 3 coaches in the league. I think he stays calm. He keeps his players calm. So I think this will be, I think it'll be a back-to-back for LAFC. But again, that's why we play the game. And we'll see. And Columbus has to be good going into it, knowing that if they go down, they know they can come back because they did it in Cincinnati. So it'll be an interesting game in those terms. But I just think LAFC is the class act of the league on all fronts. On all fronts, the players they have, the organization, their front office, the way they handle their business. It's I really wish that the Houston guys wouldn't have complained about how bad the field is. I mean, you lose, man. Deal with it. Deal with it. Saying that, oh, there's a concert on the field every week. Blah, blah. Like, come on, man. Come on. We
No,
want to
I
play
know.
this in a park. This you lost. Deal with it. Suck it up. Deal with it.
I'm really excited for this one. I think because we have that story of like the LA team where it's the bright, flashy, the team who recently won it, and the Columbus team, which is that Midwestern mentality. And to be FC Cincinnati, who's been so excellent throughout the season, they've been so consistent, to have that overtime win. This will be an exciting one. And before we wrap up the show, we can't end it without talking about Messi. Actually, Scotty, before I hopped on the show, Times reported that Messi is, hold on, let me get this correct. Messi has been named wait for it. We're going to get there. Shoot. Messi is the Times 2023 Athlete of the Year. And he came into the MLS so late in the season. This one was fairly predictable, but I love that Times is acknowledging like MLS and soccer. And hopefully this does great stuff for Inter Miami, for MLS and soccer in 2024. And because of that, it's been Busquets and Messi who've really dominated the storylines of Inter Miami. But in the offseason, we've heard about Suarez coming over to MLS. Scotty, you said he's playing with a duct-taped ankle right now, so to speak?
His knee. His knee is held together by duct tape. Just he's at that stage of his career where you just can't give up the game, but the pain and agony that you go through to play every day. But
what would you think if this happened? Like if this was a combination of Suarez and Messi in the Inter Miami attack, how could this continue to help MLS grow?
I think it's. I mean, listen, the other day I read an interview with Messi, and he said, I understand that I came to a lesser league, but like sometimes, and I don't know that this was his thought or anything, but like I watch some of these kids that I coach go through their recruiting process, and they're like, I'm going to Florida State, and I'm going here, or I'm going to this one, I'm going to Chapel Hill, and I'm going to, like, why doesn't anyone pick a lower school and say, I'm going to make them the new Florida State? Like I think that's, if Messi's doing that and bringing all these people over, like, and everybody wants to watch this league. Like right now we want to watch Miami. What happens if this guy comes over and then Griezmann comes over and this guy, but they don't all go to Miami. They're floating around all these different teams. And then we're like, everybody wants, like, there's not a game to miss. There's not a game not to miss. Listen, the game's going to be good. It's going to be great. Could you imagine if it was LAFC versus Miami?
Yeah, it'd be epic.
The whole world would be watching it. The whole world. I think that's kind of, I understand that Suarez wants to be, and they're really, really close. They're really good friends, Messi and Suarez. They're really tight. So Suarez is going to add a year to 2 years onto his career because of pure happiness. We saw it with Messi. He was a shell of himself at PSG to what he was. Doesn't matter lesser league, not lesser league, because he's also killing it at Argentina again. Because he's happy, because he's having a good time. He's enjoying his career. He's going out on his terms. So I think we get some of these younger players that come over to also where we've established that some of the young players do well in the MLS, and then they go, and it's a good league to see, can you handle the physicality of the EPL? Can you handle the physicality or the style of play of France? Can you handle the league in Spain? Like, we have players like they're floating around. You watch some of the other leagues, like, oh, he had spent the time. I watched the guy the other day for Atletico Madrid. Oh, he spent some time with an MLS team. Like, the MLS team right now is good for some of these younger players. Can we get some of these higher quality players to come over, go to these different, and make the league better, but also make our players better? Look at the young players that were at Miami, what Messi's done for them. So I think that's what's good about these guys coming over. It's also helping the league not just grow in notoriety, but grow in quality. And that should be also at the same level of notoriety for the MLS higher ups, is the growth of quality. Like, we can't lose quality, because with quality comes the good fans, the fans that know what we're watching, the fans that understand good brand of soccer. And Messi did that. Busquets did that. Jordi Alba did that. That's one of the reasons LAFC is so good. That's one of the reasons why back in the day DC United was so good, and why LA Galaxy was good. They were bringing over the Robbie Keanes, the Steven Gerrards, the David Beckhams. Beckham is a smart guy. He knows what it takes. Bring in better players. And that doesn't matter where they're from. Doesn't matter where they're from. If they're American, bring in these Americans. And can we get, and I'm not even a huge fan, but can we get the Pulisic back? Can we get some of these guys back before, they're just coming back to retire?
But I think the element of getting a Pulisic back would be, you would really like, he's doing so well in Serie A. Like, he's in the prime maybe of his career. Maybe he is. How hard that would be very difficult to get a player like that to come back to the States and to take that kind of risk, to leave not only the soccer, but the experiences he's having in Europe, and bring it back to the States. And I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with you, but it's that, how can we market the league and make it something different that is going to be able to compete with what is happening overseas, even if we don't have the talent here.
That's what I mean.
Now.
But I'm saying bring the talent, and then we can bring some of these Americans back to play with the talent. I'm not just saying.
True. I
don't think you bring Pulisic back right now. I'm saying let's get talent here. So this is a destination, and not a destination to get a nice house and live in the freedoms of America. Is the destination to be in this league? Like, I want to be in, listen, I understand it's the MLS, but I watch La Liga. Like, I'm right now, I was telling everybody, I'm infatuated with Jude Bellingham. That he is amazing. What that guy can do, and his power, his strength, his skill, his intelligence. Like, I want to know why, because he's not the fastest guy out there. He's just, everything he does is so smooth. And so, but again, I also have to say, how many good teams are there in Spain?
Right.
There's only 4 or 5 good teams, and then there's 15 crap. That's why the EPL is so good. Every team has the ability and quality to win on every single weekend. Yes, Man City's the cream of the crop. Arsenal, Liverpool, these are Newcastle. These are the cream. They're the best. But those bottom teams, don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them, because they come. They understand what they're about. They understand what their tactics need to be to win a game. So I'm saying here is can we get some of those players to come over and make every team like it is an EPL, because it is a high pace, but then we need some more of that intelligence, some more of that class, some more of that style to come into our league. And then it'll be more of a destination for players that you want to play here. They give you everything. The league's getting bigger. They tried to do it way back in the day with the NASL. Come on, we had Georgie Best, Pele, Beckenbauer, Cruyff. We had unbelievable players playing in Mueller. We had tons of superstars, and they weren't at the end of their career. It was just, there was money here. There was no salary cap. So that's kind of what hurt the league, but it's also what gave me the opportunity to watch. I've watched in my lifetime live, Diego, Pele, Messi. I've seen these players live. I've seen them live and in person. I'm from New Jersey. The Cosmos were my team. I saw Beckenbauer, Canalia, Cruyff, Bogi Bogovic. Like, I seen all the Eskandarian. Like, I grew up watching that. That's what I grew up watching in live, in the stands, in the stadium. And I think we deserve that. We've shown that this is a country that if the players are good, if the quality is right, the fans will show up. If
Yeah.
it's not, they won't show up. They don't
Right.
care. They won't come to it.
Right. And the name element, that name recognition is important right now, like especially with MLS growing and bringing Messi over is so important. Like, yes, you want to get to a point where you're bringing in young new players and you don't have to go off name recognition in order to want to watch the sport. But hey, you recognize where you're at in the growth of the sport here in the States, and that's kind of where we're at. So I think for MLS, like this Messi thing with David Beckham being a part of it, because everyone loves David Beckham, and bringing in Suarez in, who's also really recognizable, I think, just as much as Messi, maybe just a little bit less. But I think that's so exciting for MLS and something they have to continue to grow in, and other markets have to continue to kind of go for that as well. So we'll see. A lot of exciting stuff happening on both the women's side, the men's side of it all. We'll be wrapping up the league play here going into next week, but there'll be plenty of off-season stuff to continue to touch on.
One thing, I'm pretty sure I got this right. So they just came out with the best 11 in the MLS.
Yeah.
There were three Americans. 3 Americans made it.
Oof.
They were all the defenders. They were the 3 defenders, and they were all average 6'3" in height.
Oh my God.
Everybody else was a foreigner.
Well, we can't do that. We got to get us Americans on that list.
We need to play a better brand of soccer and be known for soccer players, not big boys that win headers and tackle people.
Big boys.
Like, that's the truth. That's what we just saw. Like, so that's
what America's known for, though, Scotty. We're big people. I feel like overseas, that's just the American way.
But we got good players. We have good players. We have good small soccer players. We do. We have them. Pulisic, Reina. Like, we have these type of players that can do it. They're leaving here to go do it somewhere else. And to me, is like, make the league better so we don't have to leave. Like, right now, we have to leave. It's the only way we can grow our game. Personally, individually, I have to go somewhere else. I have to experience this. And like for me, when I went and played in Europe, the biggest thing for me wasn't the change in quality of player. I didn't think that. I played at NC State with some superstars that could have played anywhere they wanted to. It was a time where Americans weren't looked highly upon. But when I went to France, I wasn't like, well, they're way better than what I played with. It was the fan base, the care, the knowledge. That's what was different. Like, and I think that's what the draw is also to Europe, is not that I'm famous, but like how invested everybody is. Everybody is. It's like the fans go to the game not just to see a good product. They don't want to let the team down. They're as much of a part of it as the players on the field are. And that's why they get so upset when the players don't show up and play and don't have the right attitude. Here is like, we show up because we don't have anything else to do, kind of a thing. Yes, we have a few diehards, but not like we should be filling these stadiums. The stadiums aren't that big that we can't get 20,000 in there, except for a couple of the teams that use football. And the good teams, put Miami in a football stadium, it'll fill it. You put Messi on the field, it'll fill it. They'll fill it.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure that's on the docket for next year. For sure. It has to be, honestly. Like, get them in, what's it, Hard Rock Arena, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami?
You're telling me we can't just get more Lego pieces for that Miami stadium now?
Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. I know. And honestly, Hard Rock, they need to they gotta redo that one too. I don't know. I feel like
take advantage of Messi right now. Take advantage. That guy will fill any stadium.
Totally.
Beckham will take care of it. He probably watches the show. He'll take care of it.
Yeah. All right. Beckham, listen to us. We need to see the drive team and Hard Rock.
I've gone back on things we've said throughout the year. We're probably at like 85% correct on the things we've called.
I know. Look at us. Well, hey, we called the LAFC Miami thing, and if we don't see that next year, then you guys can come for us. But I think we should stand firm on that one. That's gonna, and also Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I still stand firm. They're getting married. They're getting engaged. It's gonna happen. And I think you're getting on board with me, Scotty.
I agree with you. the Chiefs keep playing like they're playing now, Kelsey's going to retire, and then he'll have all the time he wants.
Hey, his backup was on the field this past week, so you never know. But
Yep.
she was at the game, and it was the
A
first time they
road
lost while
game.
she was
A
there.
road game. She went to a road game.
She got in her PJ and she went, and I'm pretty sure she left right after, because if you're Taylor Swift, you don't want to be stuck in that snowstorm in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Keeping my eyes on that story. We'll get around to discussing that David Beckham documentary, I swear, because I need to finish it before we do that and recap it all. But we'll hit that in the offseason. Stay on top of all the free agency at the U.S. women's national team, the men's national team, MLS, Messi, and all of it. So make sure to tune in every single Wednesday. Follow us on TikTok. If you could give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, that would just get our show out there and more people could tune in and listen. You can follow us on Spotify, Instagram, Twitter. Watch us every single Wednesday on YouTube.
Have a great week.